In this video, I will share with you whether you should or shouldn't eat food before you take psychedelics and what the best way to go about food is when you are about to trip and when you are tripping. Now, eating food right before you trip will definitely make the substance kick in slower. At least that is, if you take the substance orally, either sublingually or if you eat it. I once took LSD right after eating my OMAD, which means like 3,500 calories in one meal, and the trip was delayed by at least 6 hours. I started peaking maybe 12 hours after taking the drug, which is not the best thing if you wish to go to bed at a reasonable time. Another problem of eating before you take psychedelics is that the trip will likely be less intense. If you wish to intensify the trip, then don't eat before you take psychedelics and trip on an empty stomach. It doesn't matter whether you smoke the substance or eat it or plug it or snort it, whatever. The trip will be less intense if you eat beforehand. The same goes for meditation and holotropic breathwork, by the way. When you do all of these mind expanding techniques during a longer fast, they will be more intense and they will bring more results. But perhaps the main negative of eating before you trip is that you will likely vomit after that. I will get into the benefits of eating before you trip soon, but this negative is something worth talking about. With some psychedelics like LSD, the nausea and vomiting usually is not that big of a problem. But when it comes to psilocybin mushrooms or let alone ayahuasca, these will almost definitely make you vomit. They may not make you vomit, but if you eat right before you take psilocybin mushrooms or drink ayahuasca, you can be sure that you will see the food you ate half digested in a bucket or in a floor around you. And by in a floor, I mean on a floor, pardon my English. The same goes for LSA and Serinu and Ibogaine. All of these are incredibly nauseating. If you are about to undergo a Kambo ceremony, eating before that is a pure insanity, and I hope they warn you, they remind you of this before. If you ever decide to cleanse yourself with the venom, you have to be fasted. If you are not, it could be dangerous, even lethal. And the same can be said about eating before you take 5-MeO-DMT. This isn't necessarily the case with regular DMT because that one usually doesn't make people vomit. With 5-MeO-DMT, however, this is quite common. And with 5-MeO-DMT, many people have died because of eating before taking the substance. The reason is they vomited a lot of food and the food was still in a semi-solid form. And these people, because they went unconscious in a way because of the poison, ended up choking on their vomit. 5-MeO will almost definitely knock you out and make you forget about your body. And when you choke on your vomit, you will not just wake up all of a sudden and save yourself. So do not ever eat before taking 5-MeO-DMT, even if there is somebody right next to you. Because when you vomit, he may find that nasty, he may not want to interrupt your experience, he may think that you will be fine, but you might not be fine. I don't want to scare you away from 5-MeO, by the way. When you don't eat and when you fast for at least 5 to 10 hours, then you should almost definitely be fine. The benefit of eating food before you take psychedelics is that you will not get hungry. Before I started fasting, I used to get angry and agitated if I didn't eat for 2 or 3 hours. I imagine that most people are like that, and in case you are one of these, then it is a good idea to not be hungry when you are tripping. So the best way to go about food in that case is to eat a light breakfast at least 2 hours before you trip. It doesn't have to be breakfast, of course, but I believe that the best tripping time is right after you wake up or as soon after that as possible. Because not only can psychedelics keep you awake, but the longer you have after the trip during that day, the more you can retain from that trip. So how I would go about it if I was to take LSD or magic mushrooms is I would have a light breakfast right after waking up, then wait for around 2 hours and then trip. But when it comes to DMT, 5-MeO-DMT, salvia, all these things that knock you out, you will be better off not eating at all. And by the way, prepare some snacks and water right next to you. From snacks, I believe that the best ones are fruits, nuts, and things like that. Eating food during a trip can obviously be a distraction, but it is definitely better than deciding that you are hungry and you don't have food next to you, so you are gonna drive to a store or just prepare something with a kitchen knife. So thank you for being a responsible psychonaut. I love you, and share the video if you found it helpful.